Welcome to Baddie, a monthly podcast by For the Breast of Us, the first breast cancer community for all women of color, where we share real-life experiences, information, and education to help you live your best life after a breast cancer diagnosis.
Hey, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Ebony, aka Miss Hustle in Heels, and I'm back for another wonderful and beautiful edition of Loving Cancer Friendship. And this series is brought to you by For the Breast of Us, a beautiful, wonderful, y'all know I love beautiful and wonderful. Those are my two favorite words. But my lovely breast cancer community for women of color. And we are out here loving and educating and supporting those who are on this journey. All right, so I keep telling y'all this is the friendship edition, and I have been loving it, guys. And you're going to meet another dynamic group. I want to say trio, duo, but it's a lot of ladies on here, and you can just feel the love, okay, guys? But first, we're going to bring our breastie on. She goes by the name of Christi, and we're going to hear her story, and then we're going to bring in her friends. All right, let's get started. Everybody help me welcome Christi. Hello, Christi. How are you?
I am doing wonderful today. How are you?
I am doing great. So we're just going to jump right into it. I always start by saying this is a community and this is a club we never really wanted to be in, but we are here, we are doing it, and we are a part of it. So how did you find out you had breast cancer?
So mine, I had always done self-exams, and they always said if you felt any changes, and I had a bad habit from breastfeeding that whenever my daughter was nursing on one side, I would stick my hand in my shirt just like this and just kind of rest it and massage the other one to prepare. And it just kind of got to be a habit. And one day I literally stuck my hand in my shirt and I was like, I swear I'm feeling something. And it was not what I would think about when people say look for changes in lumps or bumps. It was literally the size of a jelly bean. And so I was like, okay, maybe, no, I'm not sure what that is, but I didn't really pay too much attention. I was like, it may go away. I may have strained something, may have hit something. Maybe 2-3 days later, it was still there. And it was just something in the back of my mind nagging. And I was like, well, you know what? I've never had a mammogram. So I went at the suggestion of one of my friends that you're going to meet. She was like, girl, just go here. It's a great place to go. Go get your mammogram. It's easy. It's nice. She's like, they have snacks. They have water. And I'm like, okay, they got snacks. I'll go. So I went and I got it done. And immediately the lady told me, she said, you have very dense breast tissue. She's like, and breast tissue is the density, having high density is more prevalent in African-American women. And she's like, but you have some of the densest breasts that I've ever seen. And she's like, so I can guarantee that you're more than likely going to get a call back to do more imaging so that they have a baseline. And so I did get a call back. I went on a Thursday. I got a call back Tuesday, went in, did an ultrasound. And one of the real strange things is after my initial mammogram, I literally left there and went straight to the pharmacy and I got my booster for my COVID shot. I was like, oh, okay. Cause they say, don't get your booster before your mammogram. So I was like, oh, got my mammogram. Let me go get my booster. And the strange thing was that I got about a golf ball size knot under my arm that night after getting the booster. And so I told the radiologist that was doing the ultrasound that I was like, it swelled up. And he's like, yeah, he's like, it looks funny, but we see that in a lot of women who get mammograms after having the booster done. And he said, well, I see this one little site. He's like, it looks like calcifications. He's like, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and order a biopsy. He said, just to be on the safe side. And I felt okay about it because he was like, yeah, I really think it's just some calcifications. He's like, but I need to rule it out for sure. And less than 48 hours later, I I kept getting this call from this strange number, and I was like, who is this calling me? And I don't answer numbers I don't know. And I mean, when I tell you, I kept hitting, I kept hitting voicemail. And then I get this text that says, answer the phone, it's Dr. Stuntz. And that's my primary care physician. And I'm like, why is my primary care physician texting? Like, never had
Right.
have a great relationship with my primary care. And so when I called, it was just kind of like my heart sank because I knew. And his first words were, I want to talk to you. I don't want you reading anything. I want to talk to you first. And my friends are going to tell you, I have probably the highest anxiety. I'm kind of like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. And immediately, that was it. I really don't know what all he said, except that it came back positive for breast cancer. And he's like, I'm going to get you into the physician, the oncologist, the oncoplastic surgeon that I use. And I know he was talking, but I had checked out completely. And in that moment, I text one of my friends that you're going to meet because we do work together. And I was like, get here now. And when I tell you, she sped her little car over there so quick because it happened to be a day that something was going on and I had my son with me and I was a literal mess. In my mind, my life was over. It was done and I couldn't let my child see me like that. And I commute an hour to work. So it's like, nobody else can get to me, but she got there. She got me calm enough that I was able to get in my car, drive home. And then from there, it was the rest of the extensive testing. I went from, after doing the imaging, I went from a stage 0 to immediately to a stage 2 because I did have one lymph node involved. I think it's called a centennial lymph node was involved. And then we found out that the little jelly bean I was feeling was what they call the in situ, ductal carcinoma in situ. It had not become invasive, but we did find 2 other spots within my left breast that had already become invasive, which we knew because there was lymph node involvement. And from there, that was June 26th that this all started. From there, it's been a whirlwind. And I'm happy to say my pathology report came back. I am considered cancer-free, 0% cancer. I did chemotherapy. So I went through chemotherapy, did my surgery with my reconstruction, finished 28 rounds of radiation. And I do because I was HER2 positive, I do have the hormone therapy. And I was just, as of today, put into medical menopause. So that is where I'm at on my treatment, but just happy to say I'm 100% cancer free. That's just being able to say that.
That is definitely always a plus. I want to say congratulations.
Thank you
so much because it's a lot of people that they're fighting to get there. So, okay, because I'm bringing it in. I'm bringing it in. Okay, so you know what? Let's bring in your friends, right? Because I know I want to meet the one who sped in her car, because she's A1 in my book. But let's bring all the ladies in. All right, so let's bring them in. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Hey,
hello.
Y'all can hear
me?
Yes. And I am glad to not only hear you, but see you.
I made it, y'all. I made
it. So, okay, who is the Speedy Gonzalez friend that sped over to her and when she said, get here?
Raise your hand.
There goes my bestie in the test seat.
I love that. Okay, well, Speedy, let's start with you. How did you feel when you got that phone call? Like, what was your reaction? Well, clearly it was get to my friend.
Yeah.
But
so when she called and she said, come. Okay, so let's rewind. She's always the friend that comes. So if she calls you and tells you to come, that means you need to stop what you're doing and to come. Yeah, like we were at work. We work together, but we work at 2 separate places. And again, I knew she was going for testing. I knew everything that was going on leading up to this. And so when she called, I was like, I had a feeling of sadness, but then I also have a feeling of, and it's just our relationship, put your big girl pants on and go in there and tell her, get your behind together. We got this. Let's make this happen. I'm going to come over here. The baby, he's good. He's, let him sit over there, let it all out. Let's talk about it. And let's figure out our plan. And, so that's my job for her. I'm like, okay. Like she said, she could be Chicken Little. And I'm here to tell her the sky is never going to fall on her. Never.
Amen.
Ever.
I love that. Okay, so what about the rest of you guys? What was your reaction when she called and told you guys?
We can start with, so I'll tell y'all, when I tell you this friendship circle here is long-standing. I have known Treese for 40 years. We met at La Petite. Our mothers are the best of friends. We have grown up together over the past 40 years. And then in high school in 9th grade, that's when I met Dakisha Battle. And when I met her, I was 14, going on 15. So I've known her 30 years. Keisha K. Randall, I have known her 16 years. We met at work. People did not think we were going to get along. They're like, here go two of the most independent, headstrong, opinionated women, and we're going to put them together in a workplace, and they are just going to butt heads. Never happened. We, from day one, were the best of friends, to the point they were like, can y'all stop hanging out and going to lunch together? We kind of need y'all to kind of, can y'all acknowledge other people within the workplace? We're like, okay, fine. And then Lindsay, we met because initially she did not want to be my friend. Sorry. People did the same thing with us. They were kind of like, oh, you two aren't going to like each other. Y'all are not going to get along. And she has become one of my best friends in, what is it? How many years? 6, I believe. 6 going on 7 years. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But the real truth is she didn't want to be my friend. So here we are.
And they are freaking frack right now. Them two right there.
We call ourselves Ebony and Ivory. So everybody calls us Ebony and Ivory at work. So
I love that. That's how me and my best friend became friends. Like, I thought she was weird, and I was like, I am not gonna like her. And I had to train her at work. And from there, it kind of like blossomed. I was like, So we're yin and yang because we're total opposites.
So I guess start with Treese because I can tell you the order it went. Keisha Randall was the first because we were at work. Patrice was the next one to know, then Keisha, then Lindsay.
Okay, so Treese, because you've known her the longest, how did you feel when she told you?
My initial was just to make sure that she was okay and that we were going to get through it. It wasn't an option. She couldn't die on us. It just wasn't an option. So we were going to get through it. So that was my only thing, to make sure that she was okay and that she understood we were there for her with anything that she needed. So yeah, once I hung up the phone with her, I was like, if she dies, I'm just not going to be okay. I'm just not going to be okay. I ain't going to tell her that, but if she dies, I'm just not going to be okay. So yeah, that was my initial phone call.
And Keisha, how about you, Keisha?
I was the Ike Turner in the relationship. So when she called me, I was if you die, I kill you. If you die, I kill you. That was me. I did just admit that here recently. I did tell her that, that was my initial reaction was, if you die, I'll kill you. So you gotta get through this. So by any means necessary, you gotta get through this, okay? So you gotta fight. We got plenty to fight for. So, it was the same thing with Treese. Like, we got your back. We got your back. So what do we need to do? What's the next step? So that was the reaction.
And Lindsay, what about you?
Well, my focus was just to get her to Disney a couple times. But my focus was just to get her on the positive, the healthy side of everything and just get her through it. My goal was not the whole thought of death. My goal was we're going to go straight through this thing and we're going to get her on the other side of it and she's going to be just fine. So I entertained her deepest, darkest, weird humor that she's got and just kept the train a moving because there was no other option than that. And to get her to Disney. And I did.
Right.
Disney was the goal.
While the rest of us like, why is she going to Disney? What is she thinking?
Her immune system's gonna be compromised, all of the people out there, whatever makes her happy.
Whatever makes you happy.
It was like the happiest place on earth.
It was the happiest place on earth.
Well, the thing is it actually turned out to be the other way around. We had a couples trip planned. She bailed. And then she's like, and I just got back. Can you please come? I was like, I just got back. There's no way I can afford another trip.
But she told me no. And then literally the week before we left, I found out that her and another one of my friends, that's like a little sister, they surprised us at Disney so that my kids could enjoy and that I didn't have to, I could focus on enjoying my kids enjoying versus, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this because they'll tell you, I'm the planner in the group. If we're going on a vacation, everybody else just kind of knows to show up. Keisha,
have an itinerary.
I make the itineraries. If you mention it to me, like, oh, I want to go here, within 24 hours, I've like planned the trip and I'll go, okay, here it is. Here go the flight prices. Here go the different hotels. These are the activities we can do. These are the restaurants we can go to. And they're just like, we just said we would like to go, but at least with these friends, our trips make it out of the group chat. They do not stay in the group chat. So.
Oh, I love that. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you need to write a book on how to get the group out of just the group trip out of the group chat. Okay. So like how much did you all know about cancer prior to Christi's diagnosis? And Christi, even for you, like, did you have family history or like how much did you know?
There was not a family history. Thank God I do not carry the gene that I know of. My father is deceased, so I couldn't ask him, but even from the family that I have asked on his side, we're not aware of anybody having breast cancer. I had an uncle that had throat cancer, but he was a heavy smoker, so there were things that accounted to the cancer before. And I did have an aunt who had a type of leukemia or lymphoma that got diagnosed very late in the stage and like stage 4. And she did pass away a couple of weeks after finding out. But other than that, I did not have experience with cancer. I didn't have friends with it. I had probably about as much as everybody else. You see it on the TV, you see it in TV shows, you see the infomercials about it, and it's out there, but it just hasn't touched your life that you just hone in on it and research it. And, because they will tell you, if I get it, but I can go down the rabbit hole. I am going down the rabbit hole. I am diagnosing myself on WikiDoctor, on Dr. Google. Yes. So it just there are things that you just kind of don't go into because it hasn't affected you.
Right. And what about the rest of you guys? Like how much experience or knowledge did you have prior to her diagnosis?
For me, absolutely none. And again, even through this entire process, I mean, we're getting new information every day. And so again, like the pseudo doctor that she gives you very technical versions of what's going on. And so for me, she doesn't know. She tells me this story and she tells me what's going on. Then I get off the phone with her and now I'm doing my research because she's explaining it to me and I'm really trying to understand what is she saying is happening. And now how am I going to coach your mental through what they said is happening? And so that's kind of, like you said, never dealt with it before from anyone. you know, like you said, it's never really touched our life. This is the first time that I've ever been touched this closely by it.
I'm with Keisha. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keisha.
Oh, go ahead, Lindsay.
I'm with Keisha Randall. This is my first go around with breast cancer in general, but I didn't pull out the phone and start looking things up. For me, it was just like, okay, I'm just going to listen to her and we're going to keep charging ahead. That's the best that I could do. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole because I didn't want my thoughts to go out there. And it was my priority to stay focused and stay positive to Christi.
Trace, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, I knew some things of breast cancer because I have it in my family, and then just like the cancer and the chemo overall because I lost my father to leukemia. So I had some, but not the details that you kind of needed to know for Christi for the breast cancer, the understanding each appointment, what every step of the way is, what she has to do, what she needs. You know, it was just like, okay, what does she need to eat? What can we bring her to make, you know, she can't taste anything, but you have to eat. So it was kind of, you know, that. And then it was just new details. Like Keisha was saying, it was just like something new. It wasn't like, okay, I got breast cancer, I'm going to chemo, hey, and I'm through. It wasn't that. It was steps that you just didn't know about because not having it close, you just think, hey, they go through chemo and they're healed, but it's not that. It's so many more steps that she had to go through. And then when you think about that, she went through 6 months of chemo. It was 6 months hard for her, but it was 6 months hard for everybody else around her just to make sure that she was okay and the kids were okay, just to keep her mental state okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Keisha, what about you?
I was the opposite of everybody. It is unfortunate, but cancer runs deep through my family, from pancreatic to breast cancer. My mother was a breast cancer survivor. My sister is a breast cancer survivor. So I was very familiar with the process. I knew what the fight that was up ahead, even though I joke about it, about the whole if you die, I had no doubt in my mind that she was going to get through it. It was just, it was her. I know how Christi is, so she lets things get the best of her. So if she just like Lindsay was the best because she's the one who has kept giving her that positive, you know, you can do it. You can fight. So, you know, thank you, Lindsay, for that because that's really what she needed. You know, that's the biggest thing. Everything else, you know, it's the physical. It's the, you know, it's the physical piece of it. You know, the like Tree said, the not being able to taste things. Everybody that goes through breast cancer is different because everybody's body makeup is different. So what affects my mother didn't affect my sister that affected Christi, or vice versa. So everybody is different, you know. So it was, I already knew what she was up against. It was just about her mental state at that point in time and her letting it get the best of her.
Yeah, I'm glad you all brought that up because a lot of people, when they think breast cancer, they're just like, oh, you go through chemo, radiation, you lose your hair, you lose weight, and then it's over. And they see the physical part, but they don't, like I tell people all the time, one, it's not like the common cold. You're not going to get over it in 2 weeks and be done. You know, it's not something that we all go through in October and be done with it. But like, this is ongoing for us, you know, and it's more mental than anything. Yeah, granted, the physical, it's a battle in its own, but the mental is what really, if you allow it. So it's a shout out to Lindsay for that, and all of you all who was there to be like, no, you can get through it. It may seem hard right now, but you are going to get through it, and you can get through it because that is definitely what you need when you're in a situation like that. So Therese also brought up something. You know, she went through it for 6 months, you know, the chemo part for 6 months, and it was hard on her, but as a support team, because going back, like the scope is usually just on the patient, but when you broaden that scope, it really affects everybody that's there, the support team, that those people who are really in the trenches with the person going through it. So where did you all get your support and get your strength from when you were supporting her?
I don't think I needed my support from anyone. It was just all about her, making sure that she was okay. We knew what day this was on. So I didn't get my support from anyone. It was just my main focus was that she was okay, that she was going to get through this. So I didn't get it from anyone. It was just the main focus was her.
Agreed. Yeah, I think, I maybe kind of for everybody, like you said, there was no level of burden, even though she I was like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. There was no level of burden for any of us. I think the level of support that was needed, it was needed for her, but I think it was also needed for everybody in her home, because you have her children there, you have her husband, you have, Gigi. So everybody's kind of going through this and supporting. So I think our role was to kind of keep her positive so that we could support the rest of them, because they were going through a different level than anybody else. So again, Lindsay going over making ornaments with the kids, and she's all crafty and stuff. Supporting the people that are the closest, that are in the home. I think people forget about that. You have your husbands, you have your significant others. That is a very, nobody ever wants to see their significant other to suffer through anything. And so he's having to be strong. And so I think he was the one that may have needed the external support. We, as her friends, we were like, you need us, we got you. There's no tears, there's no burden. Let's go. And so I think that's just kind of my perspective about it.
I think I was at a disadvantage, of course, because I do live so far away. So one thing, hindsight 2020, it was one of those things I did wish I did have Lindsay's number or Keisha's number, so to reach out to them, because sometimes she wasn't feeling it, she wasn't answering the phone, or she wasn't texting back, or whatever the case may be. I'm at a loss because I'm too far away at this point. So what's going on? Because now I don't know what your mental state is, and if I can't lay eyes on you, then, or you're not responding, then I don't know what's going on. So that was hard and at a very disadvantage for me, being so far away. So how do I support you from here?
Right. Lindsay?
I just had tunnel vision. Let's just get her to the other side. And I told Christi numerous times, like, girlfriend, you are exhausting. Like, I need you to get on the positivity train. I need you to understand that you have 2 healthy kids. You have a healthy husband. You got a healthy Gigi that are with you to support you, to love you. And let's go. Come on. Like, what are you waiting on? I need you to get it together, because we all got you around here. And I live an hour and a half from Christi, and she will not call me if she needs something. She'll sit there and cry for hours, but she will not call anybody. And that was probably my hardest struggle with her going through this, because with Keisha being in another state, everybody else has kids and responsibilities. I'm like, I'm the one with nothing. So why haven't you called? and I told her that. That was an agreement.
She was crying one day. I'm calling Trees, like, where you at? Like, are you on work? She on the phone crying. I'm texting, like, can you get over there? ASAP. She having a whole breakdown. I need you.
Yeah, and I was like, my husband and I had this agreement from the get-go, because my husband's best friend is battling melanoma, and he's got it pretty bad. And we had this agreement from the get-go. When Casey or Christi calls, we are doing what we got to do to take care of our friends. And I told her that 152 million times in the last, I don't know how many months. And this girl still will not call anybody. But, I'm always going to be here to support her regardless of how hard or how easy it is for me or for her. But we're going to get through it. That's it.
It's hard. I have amazing friends, and I 100%, it's emotional for me now. I 100% believe that if I call, they're going to be there for me. Like you said, it was the mental game of having to call. I've never had to call. I've always been the one that people call and know that they can depend on, and I'm going to drop it and I'm going to be there for my friends. And I know they would do the same for me, but mentally it's hard to let go of the control. I do not like letting go of the steering wheel. Jesus will even
give it away.
I have a hard time saying, Jesus, take the wheel. I'd be like, okay, Jesus, how about you work the gear shift and I'll do the wheel? Like, I do not like relinquishing control. And it's just one thing I truly remember. Lindsay and her husband came and they put up the Christmas tree with my children. And you don't know how hard it was for me to sit there on the couch while they're giving me cookies and soup and Bucky's barbecue beef sandwiches. It was so hard not to get up and be like, okay, here, let me help with something, because they didn't want me to do anything. They're like, no, just rest. We got it. And they had it. But it was the hardest thing just not to get up and do it. And it was just hard for me to relinquish the control. And they got to the point where they realized, I'm not going to ask for help. I'm not going to call. So instead of them waiting for that, they just started kicking my door in and just showing up and being like, we're here. So that's what made them amazing. They didn't wait for me to necessarily tell them, because I think that's where a lot of people, I invited a very small group. It's kind of like this was a private party, and I invited only a few people into this circle for this private party. And believe it or not, everybody did not choose to attend my private party of support. Mm-hmm. And you know what? In the end, I had to realize that's okay, because everybody cannot provide me with what I need. Those that God put in my life for the things that he knew I needed, those are the people that stayed. Everybody else, they're not bad people. They're not bad friends. They just did not have the equipment to help me maintain what I needed to maintain to get through this. And that's okay. Everybody is not going to be able to do that. And that's just kind of what it is. But these women here were there from the very beginning. They all knew within 48 hours, and no matter what, they each have served a different purpose. Like they said, Lindsay is my ray of sunshine. Before she gave me a chemo bag. It was this huge bag full of coloring books and candy. And every week that I was going to chemo, there was a card that arrived in my mailbox full of encouragement and positivity and sunshine. Patrice was always my listening ear. She'd let me call and vent and cry. She would not say a word. She just knew I needed someone to listen. And she has a new grandbaby. Love her to death. And she knew when I needed that baby. Sometimes she would bring her over, and I needed that young life and that love. And hey, Randall, she was my hardcore friend. She was just kind of like, suck it up, buttercup, put your big girl drawers on. We not fixing to put up with this BS. And when I would be down and I'd be like, oh my God, the sky is falling in, she'd be like, girl, if you don't get an umbrella, or let's go stand over here where it's not raining as hard right now, and let's just wait. And then, she helped me get my body positivity back, because that is a very hard part of breast cancer, the surgery and all, the losing the hair. And they will all tell you, I was kind of like Samson. I was addicted to my hair. I loved my hair. I was all about my hair, and losing it was one of the hardest parts of this journey. And I know people say, I am not my hair. She helped me to realize that I am embracing the new short do. I think I've been hit on more this past week with the short hairdo than I have in like 10 years. So I'm just kind of like, okay. She's like, girl, go learn to do some makeup, get you some lipstick, put some color to it, stop using clear lip gloss and Vaseline. Like, she got me to that point of, okay, you're going to have to step it up. You're going to have to learn to do lashes and all of that. And even with her being in a different state, Dakisha was she was the comfort. She was kind of the voice of reason about cancer because she had been through it. So even just last week when I called her with something else that happened, I was like, girl, I swear I'm an overachiever. I want to be every statistic in this book about cancer. She was like, girl, that's nothing that happened to my sister. Anyway, so when you come here to visit and, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, I'm talking to you. And she's like, it's okay. It happens. She's like, that's part of it. And so the more research I did and talked to my doctor, I was like, oh, she's right. So I had to learn to listen to people. So, and I had to learn to humble myself and let people be there. And every last one of them was there.
That is so beautiful. I just love y'all. Look. Okay, so I wish we had like an abundance of time, but I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay, so what's one word that would describe you all's friendship? If you had to sum up you all's friendship in one word, what would it be?
Is profanity allowed?
I was just fixing to say that. That's what I was just fixing to say. That was my word. That was my word.
It's been for me and Christi, our friendship is badass. That's all I can say. And that's been the motto through everything.
It has. She gave me a blanket that I took to chemo, and everyone's like, oh, love the blanket. And then they would look and realize that scrawled across the bottom in huge letters, it said badass. And they were like, what? And I was like, that's because every treatment I have to be a badass and I have to rock this out. So yes.
I did disguise it. It wasn't that obvious.
Listen here, Lindsay Lou is she is the ray of sunshine. She is definitely the ray of sunshine. But what describes our friendship, and again, I'm gonna say this word for everybody, and then everybody can say their individual word. This is a sisterhood beyond a friendship. We have our friends, but again, this is become family. So this is family. So this. I don't have a biological sister. I have 2 brothers, love them to death, but Christi's my sister. Again, we, like you said, haven't been there for 40, but the 16 years feels like, especially as for me, as my adult life, she's my adult friend. She's my only friend in adult life. You know what I'm saying? And so she's my sister. And we're going to rock this babies together, vacations together, work together, cuss her out. She going to tell me, hey, Randall, shut up. And you need to be nice. And I'm like, suck it up, Buttercup. Quit being a peanut M&M.
We have to tell you, the going joke is, I ask everybody, do you want a peanut or do you want a peanut M&M? Because sometimes you got to have the raw peanuts. Sometimes you got to sugarcoat it. And they've been giving me all of them. They tried to give me the peanut M&M, but there were times I needed just the raw peanut. And Keisha would give me the raw peanut every single time.
Know your people. Just know.
Yes. Trees or Keisha?
I think mine is unconditional. So our friendship is unconditional. We don't have conditions on it. It's just unconditional. That's the word for us. I love you no matter what. We accept each other for who we are, and that's my word, unconditional.
I don't know if I have a word. We've been friends for 40 years. She's my children's aunt. My granddaughter doesn't like some people. She loves Christi, so she's family, kind of like what Keisha said. She's my sister, and I don't have a word. She's part of me. 40 years, she's just part of me. She comes with me. She's like one of the children. Like, yeah, here comes this 4th child. Here she comes.
Where there's one, there's 2.
That part.
I want to tell you one of the best moments through this journey, and again, I've not that I've talked about it a whole lot, is right after your surgery, and I came to the hospital, and Keisha and they were literally sleeping in the hospital, taking it was so beautiful to walk in. What you got, those blow up mattresses on the floor, just like surrounding in love, you know. So y'all, I mean, that was, I think that was the part for me, my internal breakdown to see it and be like, but it was so amazing to walk in that room and see that. You know, you have all the day to day, you know, meal trains, food, you know, all these other things, but they like rode on the side, sleeping on the floor to have your back. And, you know, it was just beautiful.
That is so beautiful to
And
see.
Keisha, to piggyback
I
off
love seeing this. Go
to
ahead.
piggyback off that, just one last thing before you close. Mine, Keisha, would actually be, and I'm gonna get teary eyed about it, but it was the wedding, and she had chemo, I think, that Thursday, and she flew out that Friday, not expecting her, was with her corresponding with my spouse. Me and Trees, they had it all. Trees didn't know either that on purpose, but they had it all planned, and she told me the whole time she wasn't coming. She wasn't, which was fine. She was my bride. She's not my bridesmaid. She was my matron of honor, everything. But I knew with everything going through, counter out. We was gonna video her in, everything. We just knew that. But yeah, she had chemo on that Thursday, and that particular night that was supposed to be my bachelorette, but I was dog-tired, didn't end up going anywhere, and she was trying to meet us where we were, and she came into the house, and Teresa and I had just said, we was like, dang, we've done everything together for so many years that this is the first time this is something that she hasn't really been a part of. And she walked to that door, and it was like, and we had literally just said that seconds before she walked through the door. And she walked through the door, and let me tell you, that was probably the happiest, one of the happiest moments, because for somebody to have chemo on Thursday and be there on Friday, could nobody else have no other excuse in the world. Everybody else who couldn't make it, I bring that up all the time. Like, you can't tell me nothing, because if my best friend can have chemo and be here on Friday, you can't come with me with no excuse in the world. So for me, that was one of those moments. Like, wow, that put it. We've been there through everything now officially, and that was the icing on top of the cake right there.
And I want to add to it. I mean, this lady that we're talking to today, she's a freaking trooper. Like, she didn't let life get in the way of her one single bit. In September when she started chemo, we flew out to Phoenix for a week-long trip for work. And homegirl here she's like, come on, we're going. I was like, we all looked at her crazy. We're like, what are you doing? Nothing. She went. She did work trips. She did Mexico. She did Disney. She did Atlanta. Nothing stopped this lady. And I hope that should I ever have to go down this road or anybody else, I'm half the person that she was, because she's a freaking trooper. I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she powered through it, because half the time I was like, I'm exhausted. Can you stop? And she never did. And so she is a freaking rock star. And that's why she's got badass on everything that she owns. But she's amazing. She did it for everybody.
That is so beautiful to see. That's so beautiful. Well, Christi, you're definitely loved. And if anybody has an excuse, I want them to run this back. She was in chemo on Thursday, flying out to Atlanta on Friday. She did
it after every chemo treatment. She was setting somewhere.
And it was funny. Most people think I'm crazy when I went to the lady to do the scheduling. They schedule it all out. And I told her, I said, okay, it falls a certain way. And mine was every third week. And so I literally scheduled it so that all of my vacations fell at least after the day after chemo. And, work, I never stopped work during chemo. I love my job. I love it. That's a family as well. I mean, they are... They are amazing. People would be like, what are you doing? The ladies at the chemo infusion center would be like, are you seriously working? And I was like, yes, it's kind of it was like my release. So, I kept my mind off things. So I did my work trip. Every year I take my kids to Cancun for their fall break. I was like, I'm not going to disrupt life. So they got their fall break in Cancun. It was not as fun. I did not get to have my pina coladas were all virgin. I learned to drink water and lemonade spritzer, but that's okay. It was for my kids. Disney, I'm not gonna lie, Disney was hard. Disney was a lot. It took a lot out of me, but it was also me celebrating because I went the week after my very last chemo, and it was for my kids. It was for Christmas. It was supposed to be a week, thanks to unnamed airline. It ended up being a nice 2-week vacation.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband has sworn off traveling during Christmas now because of that. So, yeah, and it just, I couldn't stop life. They did not. Everybody kept telling me, no, you have to live. And I kept hearing that if you die, I'll kill you, from down here in the corner, but it like they said, that was not an option. I had too much to live for. And it isn't just my family, but it's my friends because they are also my family. So if I had to assign a word, it's going to be not in general about them, but about the bond. It's unbreakable. I can tell you, I have fallen out with everybody on this podcast in some way over something, whether it be little, whether it be big, whatever it is. But every single time I tell them all, I value our friendship and this relationship too much. We may have to have our days where like, you need to cool down. I need to cool down. We'll talk about it later. But we have always come back together because it's an unbreakable bond, and it's friendships that I value, and it's friendships that I need to get through this. So
I love it. Well, you are the epitome of cancer did not have you.
No.
They'd be like, you got cancer. I'm like, no, honey, the cancer picked the wrong one.
The wrong one.
Because I used to wear high heels every chemo. I walk in there with a pair of stilettos, whole makeup. They'd be like, oh, are you here? People thought I was like the medical person that walked in, like the medical lady. I was like, no, I'm coming in for treatment. I like have my briefcase. I be working in heels. I be like,
hey, I get it. I did that for radiation. That was my thing about radiation. Every single day, they will tell you my shoes have apartments in my closet, their own personal boxes. I am not going to even discuss how many pairs of tennis shoes I have, but let's just say I went through 28 days of radiation and I did not wear the same pair of tennis shoes, not once. So, and I had plenty left over to choose from, but that was my whole thing that, and I love bright tennis shoes. I was like, they're going to see me coming so they can see me leave after this. So
exactly. You have tennis shoes. I have heels. So, well, ladies, it has been a pleasure speaking with you all. I want to thank you all. I know that people are going to take a lot from this podcast. When they see it, when they hear it, when they do broadcast this, y'all make sure you share it, because this is what real friendship is. This is what real friendship looks like. This is what real sisterhood and support and love and all of that really looks like. Not that stuff, that phony stuff that you see on social media all the time, but this is real life. Real life. When you can be there for somebody, not only in the great times when they're up and moving, but when they're down and out and they really need you. Friendship is two-sided, not one-sided. So thank you again, ladies, so much. And guys, thank you all for listening or viewing or whatever you're doing. I am your host, Miss Ebony, aka Miss Hustle in Heels. And until next time, guys, I will see you. Have a blessed and beautiful time. Bye-bye.